Hey, church family. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us again for our Wednesday devotional. Last week we talked about Jesus entering into Jerusalem and the crowds cheering for Jesus and disciples taking off their coats and people in Jerusalem taking off their coats and laying them down before Jesus. People taking palm branches and laying them down so that the donkey can carrying Jesus can enter in, walking on these coats and palm branches, and people waving palm branches, excited that Jesus is there, excited that all their hopes, their expectations, their dreams were about to come true. The disciples were excited because they were with Jesus. And everybody wanted to be around Jesus. They wanted to talk to him. They wanted to be close to him. It was a great day. And then the rest of the week happened. The disciples were excited because they entered into such fanfare. And then Jesus does unexpected things. We're dealing with a lot of unexpected things. The disciples are with Jesus when he goes into the temple, and Jesus drives out all of the people selling animals for sacrifices in the temple. Jesus drives out all the money changers who take the foreign currency and give the temple currency. He drives all these people out and makes a lot of people angry by doing it. Jesus teaches in the temple and tells a parable about wicked farmers. And by the end of Jesus' teaching, the religious leaders realize that he's talking about them. And they want to arrest Jesus, but they remember the crowds being excited about Jesus being there. And so they don't have him arrested. Jesus makes a lot of people angry this week. Jesus and his disciples have a Passover feast. Jesus says a lot of things that don't quite make sense to his disciples, and especially goes against a lot of their expectations of what Jesus is going to do. Jesus and his disciples leave a meal. They've sung a hymn. They go out to pray, and Jesus' disciples keep falling asleep. And then Judas shows up with soldiers. And they arrest Jesus, and the disciples flee. Jesus is alone with these soldiers. The soldiers take Jesus to the high priest's house, and they question Jesus, and they try to trap him to try to get him to say the wrong things. But Jesus doesn't. And they have people lie about what Jesus says. They have people lie about what Jesus has done. And so they are able to say that he's done something wrong. And then they spit on him, and they hit him, and they beat him, and then they send him to Pilate. Well, Pilate tries to release Jesus because he can't find anything wrong with what Jesus has done. But the religious leaders get angrier and angrier that, no, this man has to die. And eventually Pilate speaks to a crowd. Jesus enters into Jerusalem to a crowd, excited and claiming he's king, and then now he's before another crowd who shouts and demands his crucifixion. Jesus is alone with people who hate him, with those that want to do him harm, and so he's beaten again, he's tortured, he's eventually crucified. Jesus' disciples, this is not the week they expected. Coming into fanfare and shouts of kingship to their leader dying. In their fear, they fled. And I wonder if in their fleeing, did they find loneliness? Were they afraid of what the leaders would do to them? If they did this to Jesus, what are they going to do to us? And so they fled. They were fearful. What about us? What are we afraid of right now? The disciples, their fear pushed them away from Jesus. But there were women who followed Jesus. There were women who followed the disciples. And in this time, though they were afraid, they went to Jesus and they prepared his body and they did what they could so that Jesus' burial would be done the right way. Their fear pushed them towards Jesus. What does our fear do? Does our fear push us away from Jesus and others, or does it push us towards Jesus? In our loneliness, do we continue to push others away, or do we try to pull others closer? This was an unexpected week for them, and it's an unexpected week for us. There's so many things we're dealing with, so many things that we're trying to figure out. And what do we do with those unexpected things that happen? What do we do with our fear when we feel like we're alone? What do we do with our fear when we're trying to be strong for our family and we're just not sure how much stronger we can be? How do we share those fears, those uncertainties, those stressors in a way that doesn't burden our families, but allows us to lay them down before our family? Oftentimes, we try to keep those fears to ourselves because we think we're doing the right thing by not burdening others with it, but it becomes this thing that just it zaps, or it takes its power from us. But when we confess it, when we share it with others, it loses its power. So maybe we need to offer others the stuff that we're dealing with right now, and allow that to draw us closer to others, and allow it to cause us to draw closer to Christ in this time. I hope that you're continuing to read through Mark. I hope that you're continuing to have good questions asked and good conversations regarding who Jesus is in Mark, that he shows us over and over and over. This week we'll have a devotional on Maundy, Thursday. We'll have a devotional on Good Friday, and then we'll have worship on Sunday morning. So I hope that you can join us for these things. I hope they're helpful, and I hope that we are able to gather together again as the body of Christ and to worship him together. Hopefully we'll see you soon.